You sneaky, you're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
Is this true? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Come on! Come on! Really?
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly.
Let's give the people what they came for.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right, elbows out.
Elbows up.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Ready? Are you ready? Get them out of here! Get them out of here! Get the hell out of here!
Enough with the woke shit.
So the answer to that is to stop being stupid.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Get your special sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
Is the federal government stealing from us? Are they sabotaging our industry? Are they taking us down the path to communism? Are they censoring us? Are they stealing our guns from us? Come on, let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Unhinged Fringe here on Wednesday nights. As always, it's going to be a slobber knocker tonight. We have a lot to go through on the stream, especially when it comes to Mark Carney's dumpster fire of a budget. Not only that, some bad news, we think, and we're pretty darn sure, a lot of people called it out last night. Hey, Fringe, you don't know anything about what's happening in politics. Mark Carney's not getting a majority government. I got sour news for you. It looks like it's going that way. We're going to talk about that more in depth. But before we get started, ladies and gents, I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're at least coping a little bit with what's going on. Don't worry, because to deal with it tonight, we've also got Matt joining us back on the show. Matt, how you doing?
I gotta say, that's my first time seeing the new intro. I just saw it with everybody else. I was actually openly laughing, and that was great. And as far as how it's going, I don't know if I've ever seen so much awfulness happen so quickly. I don't even know if we can get to it all in one show.
We certainly cannot get to it all in one show. We're going to do it live, ladies and gents, but we have a lot to cover. Matt and I have broken it down before the show. It's part of the reason we started a few minutes late. There's going to be a lot to go through tonight and unpack. We want to unpack some of the key points that come out of the budget that are also going to screw the country, and some things that you guys should be worried about, especially when it comes to the spending. Don't forget, Mark Carney says he's going to spend in order to invest. I don't know how you do that, but we're gonna uncover it, folks. Hope, again, you're ready to go. You're having a good night. As Mitch says at the end of the intro, come on, let's go. Let's get a good old roll call going on in the chat there. Let's get somebody chiming in from every province in the country. Hit the thumbs up, hit the likes buttons, folks. If we get enough likes tonight, and I'm not even going to set a limit, if we get a substantial amount of likes, somewhere in the 1,000 range, maybe we do a giveaway tonight. I don't know. We'll see how we're feeling, folks. It's going to be a wonderful night. You're going to love being around. Go get your lollipops. Let's get it going.
Let's go.
Who do we got here? Let's go. We got North Girl Tracks coming in from Burns Lake in BC. Welcome in. Carol and Gerald are joining us once again from Calgary. We've got Toten coming in from Arizona. Welcome in. Gong Irish or Gang Irish is that? I can't tell if it's an A or a G, or an O. Sorry. Coming in from Ontario. Welcome in. Jancor's coming in from Ottawa once again. Kimber, Save Vic Canada, vote Conservative. I don't think it's going to happen, but we're going to talk a bit about the Conservatives tonight. Welcome in. I know people don't want to hear that, but we're going to be real tonight. Delphine coming in from Fort Mac. Good to see you again. Carson. El Gringo Grande coming in, not from Canada. Joining us from Puerto Vallarta, great to have you back in here. Night of Falima coming in from Red Deer, Alberta Proud. We've got Aaron joining us from Red Deer as well. Mr. Biggs is coming in from Dedmonton. Welcome in. Mike TV Dub, one of my favorite mods named Mike, coming in from Winnipeg. Welcome into the stream. We've got, is it Salon Savvy? Coming in from Edmonton. Welcome in. Princess Thickness, look at those eyes. You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's great to have you in from Montreal. Princess Thickness, always good to have you in the stream. Derek coming in. Generational investment equals spending. I know. Lady Wolf coming in from Vegreville. Welcome into the stream. It's great to have you here. We've got Mystical still stuck on my roof in his usual place, needing a hard drink. Mrs. Fringe will hook you up with something. We got Carrie coming in from Innisfail. Great to have you in here. Randy's joining us from Beaumont, Alberta. Luca, rotting in Burnaby, BC. It's not that bad, but hey, come on in. Reg joining us from Stony Plain. We've got Paniner. Had a hair in my mouth there. Paniner. It's good to see you. It's good to see, well, he's saying good to see Mike. It's good to see everybody. Good to see Paniner. Sue Sampson coming in from Vancouver, BC. We've got Patrick coming in from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Welcome in. We've got Conservative Gal coming in from Lethbridge. God, you don't see too many conservatives out there, but it's good to have you in here. David coming in from High River. We've got the Adaptive Maritimer coming in from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Great to have you here. OAO's joining us from Edmonton once again. Somebody said Wesley Snipes' Kitchen's in here from Lethbridge as well. We've got Sith Cat coming in from Cleveland, Ohio. Look at my list, Dexia. It's just getting the best of me all the time. We've got, is it Renata Burns coming in from Camrose? I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Lucille coming in from Prince George. She's coming in from Prince George, BC. It's kind of nice over there. I like it. It's kind of wonderful. Captain Calgary says paper straws suck. They're terrible. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Guy Hodgins coming in from Medicine Hat. Good to have you in here. Penguins joining us from Cowtown. Carmela from what is that?
Wabaman Lake.
Wabaman Lake. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that too, but guys, we got to get caught up in the chat. I got to get a few honorable mentions, and we got to get on with the stream. Raptor guy coming in with $5 super chat. Chris Detremont is the new Starscream of Canadian politics, and he's about as faithful as Tiger Woods. You
failed me yet again, Starscream.
How do you like your throne, Megatron?
Oh, we got Michael coming in with $5 super chat. Back from Niagara Falls and happily in my Camrose County basement. Glad I missed the World Series racket and the Toronto Transit fail. I heard about that. What a knockout that was. I'll be talking about that on Friday's stream, hopefully. Wesley, becoming a member for 9 months. New cliche, spending is the new investing. I hear you. Thank you so much for the super chats, guys. Welcome in. God, you guys are great. Already on fire. David, you're not invisible. Stop it. Hey, stop it. You're not invisible, all right? We got what? Almost 500 strong in the stream already. Guys, hit the thumbs up. If we get the likes going, somebody's getting a giveaway tonight. Okay? Hit the like button down below. Let's see where we can get it there. Matt, you've been following a few things. Before we get into the budget, before we ruin everybody's night, you've been following a couple things. What do you got on the old docket there you want to talk about?
Well, we'll do a few quick hits if you want to pop up my screen. First and foremost, some small good news. The Yukon had an election on Monday, and the Liberals got absolutely wrecked, retaining only 1 seat, losing official party status. And the Yukon Party, which is their version of the Conservatives, have now ended 9 years of Liberal rule and are in charge of the, well, not province, the territory. So something nice, before we go into
a Conservative win is always good, right?
Yeah, before we go into the awful, a little something nice, a little something. Breaking 9 years of Liberal rule, but not only doing so, but absolutely destroying them is pretty cool. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, keep going. Raptor guy, $5 super chat. You should encourage your kids to kneel for the anthem at school with how the country is. I don't want my kids ever living on their knees. I'll never do it, but I appreciate you coming in with the super chat. Matt, did you hear about New York's election, by the way, for all of our American viewers? New York. What was it you said today that made the most sense? That how much brainwashing?
I didn't have a Muslim communist becoming the mayor of the city that endured 9/11 in my bingo card for the year, but
right,
here
the
we
guys
are.
who abuse their wives, the guys who whip them and smack them around.
The biggest demographic that came out and voted for him were young liberal women aged 18 to 29, and that just kind of, like I said, how much propaganda and conditioning did you have to do to get people in that demographic to vote for somebody who was a Muslim, who treats women as property?
Yeah, I don't get it. New York, you're in trouble. Okay, ever since Donald left, you're in trouble. He's not looking after you no more. You're going to have to get some lollipops. You're going to have to get ready for that Muslim mayor. He's going to ruin it. Trump Tower will close down. We'll leave.
He only won.
What else you got?
50.9% of the vote, which I think when it's that close triggers an immediate recount. So see what happens there.
See where it goes. What else you got?
Our friend, our favorite liberal premier, Doug Ford, has instructed his legal people to go after Chris and Tamara again. They have filed appeals on their acquittals and are trying to come back around and hit them again.
Yep.
I guess they weren't happy that they weren't convicted. So here we go again. More bull crap. I'm trying not to swear tonight.
It's funny. Well, I appreciate that, but it's funny that, we get to this because I've had this conversation with Chris and Tamara multiple times, that as soon as the pandemic ends for us, it doesn't end for them. And these court cases are never going to stop. The government is never going to give up. They have endless funds for lawyers, for legal battles, because it comes out of the taxpayer's pocket. And they're never going to stop fighting Chris and Tamara until they get what they want. They're going to squeeze that rock dry.
Like, it's crazy. And it's our money they're using to do it. It's our tax money that they're using to go after them again and again and again. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's insane. I can't believe that this is where we're at. Again, we're probably going to have Chris and Tamara on the channel in the near future talking about this in greater depth. I want to get people straight on what's happening with Big Red, with what's happening with their new show, with everything that's going on.
And
stay tuned for that
once
one.
Again,
folks.
all of the things that they're doing to go after them for mischief and all the other actual crimes that happen in our country and shootings and murders and all kinds of other stuff is just whatever.
Martin saying Chris and Tamara need to apply for political asylum in the United States. But I say stand up and fight the government, right? This is what you're going to see happen in the next year, folks, in this country. As things continue to crumble, is Canadians in general are going to be faced with one major question. How far are you prepared to go to stand up for your beliefs and to fight for your place in this country? You're soon about to be fighting.
Live on.
Well, you're going to be fighting for your jobs. You're going to be fighting for any kind of suitable food prices. You're going to be fighting for reasonable gas prices. You're going to have to fight in order to make sure your bills don't skyrocket as Mark Carney brings in his industrial carbon tax even fuller on people. I want to get into that because we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the budget. And I know, guys, we never talk about it. We never bring it up on the channel here, but it's going into Alberta. We got to talk a little bit about Alberta. But first, ladies and gents, the first thing we got to talk about is the pressing matter of the traders running across the aisle. Now, I have spoken about what's happened yesterday. We put out a video. Thank you to everybody who checked that out and watched it. Matt Genereux, his account today on Twitter was protected. Posts are protected. Somebody said this has happened since summer. You've got it down here. Taylor chiming in, his account has been locked for more than a year. He's already come out with a statement saying he isn't crossing. But this is the exact same thing that happened yesterday when Conservatives were crossing the aisle. There's a few Conservatives that have locked their account. Look, I talked to a lot of folks on Parliament Hill. I talk to people within the House of Commons, and anytime I speak to them, anytime I hear about rumor mills, the first thing I do is reach out to them. I either text them, email, call, and I've asked people, what's happening? What's going on? Is this real? Are we going to see anything? And there is widespread speculation that the NDPs are going into discussions about crossing the floor. The Conservatives are going into discussions about crossing the floor. When we think about everything that happened yesterday, and I don't even want to mention names anymore because I'm just disgusted. Keep in mind, these are people who ran and took donations These are people who said, I'm going to represent you as a conservative, and then immediately 6 months after the election says, yeah, I'm moving over. I'm just switching teams. And they're allowed to do so without an election.
And I don't see, like, if you want to quit and cross over, whatever, fine. But you can't flip your district to a seat for the other side. That's insane to me. It is legal. It's how the law works right now. But it's insane to me that people vote you in based on you being this person. And then you say, okay, I'm going to the other team. And then you take your seat with you to the opposing government. That's insane to me.
And there's no repercussions. There's no by-election that needs to be held. Hit Me One More Time says, people talk about fight, but most email, call, letters, petitions, they aren't working. So the problem with that is that as a YouTuber, I can't legally tell you guys what to do when it comes to anything that scales upwards. But I'll tell you, I think people are going to get there.
Called the Boogaloo. It's a really cool dance. You should check it out.
There you go. Little helpful advice for anybody wanting to know where you stand. Look, people are going to start getting desperate. But whoever's going to cross the floor, Mark Carney is 2 seats away from his majority. He's getting it, folks. For the naysayers who say it's not going to happen, I got sour news for you. This budget is abysmal. This budget is going to torpedo the country. And what you're seeing now, I'm going to bring this in, you've got Dizzy Lizzy coming in, saying the Green Party's leader and sole MP says she will not be voting in favor of the Liberals' budget unless Prime Minister Mark Carney sits down to negotiate with her. So this is where you're going to see a majority government coming in for Mark Carney. What they have to realize at this point is that money is going to talk, deals are going to talk. With the Conservative that crossed the floor yesterday, keep in mind, he was one of the speakers of the House. He's had a very lengthy career in Canadian politics.
The speculation is that's why he crossed, because he was mad they didn't make him speaker again. And being speaker comes with an extra $50K a year, a car, a house, a bunch of other perks.
Right.
And yeah.
So what happens
also,
there?
Check that guy's bank account for Brookfield stock.
Absolutely. So this is what I'm saying. Like when it comes to Liz, when it comes to the interim NDP leaders, when it comes to who's left of the NDPs or the Conservatives, what you have to realize, folks, is that the status quo has changed, right? This is a quid pro quo moment happening in the government. So you now have 2 people left that are going to get amazing, incredible deals to come over and cross the floor. So it's no longer about what's best for Canadians. It's no longer what are you doing for the people in your riding or who you're representing. It's you maybe already have a pension. If you don't have a pension, maybe you're going to get some stock option in Brookfield. Maybe you're going to get some cash filtered over your direction. But there are going to be deals made. And the last person to make a deal holds all of the cards for Mark Carney and the Liberals. So what it's basically happening right now. It doesn't have to be a conservative.
Trouble. Some of those will be looking to get out.
It's going to come down to them waving meat on a stick, saying who's hungry. You know, I talked about it with my colleagues last night, and I said it's kind of like that scene from The Dark Knight where the Joker breaks the pool cue in half and says, "We're having tryouts. But there's only room for one, so make it quick." And he throws the broken pool cues on the ground for the 2 guys, and one of them's got to kill the other one. That's what's happening here. So for anybody saying you're not going to see a majority government, absolutely we're going to. I can almost guarantee it, because the deals are going to be astronomical, and it's going to come down to who's hungry enough to take the deal from Mark Carney to cross the floor. I didn't want to have to be the bearer of bad news.
Want to get it done before the 17th when the vote on the budget is, so it's coming.
It's not about politics anymore, folks. It's not about what policies do you want pushed. This is about money, business. This is about greed, and we all know how greedy the government is. We all know how corrupted the government is. You are going to see a uniparty. If you ever wanted to see the definition of uniparty, if you ever said, "Oh, I have faith that the federal system works the way I want it to, that it's in my favor, my vote matters." This is why I had a little rant on yesterday's video and said there is no more voting. There is no more. I've always been an advocate for voting. I've always stood up and said you should vote. You should get your voice heard. You should represent your vote. But when you see people cross the floor 6 months after an election, it shows you your vote doesn't mean jack shit. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
go back in time and find the interview of his victory speech when he won. All he did was talk trash about the Liberals and about Mark Carney and about how he was going to fight for Canada as a Conservative.
Yep.
And 6 months later, he walked over to the Liberals.
Yep. Michael coming in with a $20 super chat. An idea for floor crossers of the Republic of Alberta. If representatives choose to resign from their elected position or platform on their constituents, that representative should forfeit any unearned salary for the rest of that term. I think they should force an election at the expense of the party, not at the expense of the taxpayers. So any money that they've put in their coffers must go into a by-election. So, for example, if the Liberals wanted to bring somebody over, the people in that riding should have the say if they're prepared to have a Liberal representing them in the House of Commons. This is somebody who was given a mandate by the people of that riding. So the Liberals, not the taxpayers, the Liberals should have to take the donations that were given to their party and run a by-election out of pocket, not on the taxpayer, to fund somebody else running for a chair there. And if that guy loses, he's out of a job.
I saw a tweet today from somebody who said they were part of the campaign for that guy, and they hustled and got donations and signatures and whatever else that the people who help people get elected do. You don't go to door and all that. And they were like, I've been betrayed. Like, I gave however many months of every spare second I had to help this guy get elected, and then he just stabbed me in the back.
But this is politics wrapped up in a bow for everybody. Raptor Guy, $5 super chat. I stand by what I said about the flag meaning nothing to me but an oversized Kleenex. I'm starting to get there too. I'm really starting to get there too. Thank you for the super chat. Bradley, thank you. $2. Danielle Smith has to call the referendum. I'm going to get to that. I'll get to that. Carson, $5 super chat. You're seeing politics in action. There will be rewards for any person that chooses a different path. That is the problem. So for all the naysayers, and listen, I'll put I'll happily concede if I'm wrong. I will happily say, look, I won't jump to conclusions anymore if I'm wrong. Okay, but when you look at the map, folks, when you look at what's in front of us, is it really that hard to understand what's going on, what's happening to people, that all they have to do at this point is wave that flag and say, hey, come on over. The water's warm.
And please keep in mind the real danger behind this, okay? Because if they get a majority before the passing of the budget, not only are they going to pass that budget with nobody able to stop them, but all those bills that we've been worried about, the C8s, the C9s, they're coming in hot right behind it, and nobody can stop them. They'll pass them like that.
No. Carson saying my last super chat was heavily censored by YouTube. I'll take a look and see if I can find the full super chat or if it's ever going to give me that. Carson, I apologize. I am not in control of that. I'll look into it for you. I apologize, but I really don't like what YouTube's doing these days. And speaking of a majority government, it's about to get worse. And somebody said to me in the comments today again, oh, could I recommend Rumble or could I recommend another platform to stream to? It's not going to matter about the platform. It's not about being deplatformed off of YouTube. The censorship laws that are coming to Canada apply to all Canadians. It's not the service you use. So it's not going to matter where you try to broadcast. In fact, if those censorship bills get passed, Unacceptable Fringe will have to probably delete the majority of its back catalog, and I'm going to have to do sarcastic news. So you're going to have to start seeing me come out saying, isn't it wonderful that Mark Carney has invested by spending billions of dollars in Canada's economy and devaluing the Canadian dollar? I think it's fantastic.
That swell?
Tell me how fantastic you think it is down below in the comments. We'll still run videos, but I'll have to basically stop giving my opinion in videos because, God forbid, the hate speech, or as we say, speech they love to hate. Bradley with a $2 super chat. I was happy to meet you at the rally. I was happy to meet you as well. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Panina saying Starlink will enable our free
Starlink
speech
right now.
I think
But see, the problem with that is even if the
chat.
platform itself, like I'm on Starlink, and even if I'm on Starlink, because it still has a Canadian IP, and let's say I put it on X or something, the other thing owned by Elon, if the Canadian government sees that, they can still send the RCMP to my house to talk to me about my social media posts.
Yes.
The only way they cannot do that is if Elon refuses to give my address off my IP from Starlink. So if he refuses to communicate with them, they won't know where I am. I'll be just driving around in my truck with my Starlink on my roof, tweeting mean tweets to Mark Carney.
There you go. That's the way it's going to have to go. Folks, just a reminder, as new people are coming in, if you hit the like button, get them up there. If we see significant lights tonight, maybe close to 1,000, we'll say, I'll do a giveaway. We'll do a giveaway from the shop tonight. Get those likes in. Hit the like button down below. We're being censored, obviously. Carson was censored earlier. A lot of our viewers are missing tonight. Let's get them in here. Hit that like button. Aaron with $2 super chat. I'll be in jail. My speech is unfiltered. There you go. Mike Freedom Honey, $2 super chat. The Freedom Honey podcast will endure. I know, Mike, and Mike's had some really good episodes lately. Go check those out on X. Wes Prowl coming in. Sounds like a guy better buy some gold and silver. At the polar peso isn't going to be going up. No, our economy is about to go in the toilet.
Our dollar's
it's literally about to go in the toilet
since 2008, the big recession, I think.
Yep. There is good news on the horizon, folks, and one thing that I want to announce tonight that is in the works for this channel, a secondary channel will be opening from Unacceptable Fringe. I tried to start off a channel previously called Surviving Canada. And we were talking about like shopping deals, how to stretch your budget, things like that. It didn't really work out because of time restraints, but one thing I have been doing while all this madness is going on is manipulating the stock market. Through people who manage hedge funds, people who are very knowledgeable within the stock investment world. I have made a considerable profit off of those investments, so I will be starting a financial advice channel so that you can come into live streams, you can watch us trade in full time. Stocks that make an average of 5 to 15% returns daily. So you can get around what's about to come in the chaos that's about to come in. So if Unacceptable Fringe gets pulled off the air, folks, good news. You'll still have financial advice to try and invest away from the banks, away from the big three, and make your money. And it's not a scam. It's just you have the ability to run your own trades, and I've been successful with it. I want to pass that knowledge on to Canadians. No, it's not Brookfield stocks. We don't do Brookfield.
Although they might be on the up real soon.
But we want to pass the knowledge on to people, so there's no sponsors on that channel. There's nobody paying me to put that out. I just want to share knowledge with good Canadians that are like-minded, that are saying, how am I going to pay my bills? So be on the lookout for that.
Before we move on from the trader, can you pop my screen up? And let's just watch. This was this guy's reception after he crossed.
All right, Senator.
How they agreed with the trader. John Fraser. Uniparty OS. God, I hate him.
I can't.
So, yeah.
I just can't.
That smile, the smugness of it.
I'll tell you, nobody's going to be friendly to Chris in his riding. They're not going to be happy to see him.
I hope not.
Here's one of the things that did come up that I want to talk about in the budget. Let's get into budget talk. Of course, you see greasy liberals sitting up here. Western Standard ran this article yesterday. And this is where things are going to get interesting in Alberta. Because the government has come out close to the November 16th deadline, folks. Keep in mind, we're 11 days away from Danielle's deadline. Canada's energy sector wins as the governor scraps the industrial emissions cap. No, they haven't. I hate to say this because I like Corey Morgan. I like the Western Standard. But I'm going to pull a Donald Trump. Yeah, fake news. They haven't scrapped the industrial emissions cap. They have said they are willing to scrap the industrial emissions cap. So I wanted to take this show to inform Albertans who are watching this program. Don't buy into the rhetoric if Danielle Smith starts saying, well, they're trying to work with us. They're going to scrap one of the bad laws. They're going to get rid of the emissions cap. No, they're not. And I'm going to show you why not. Raptor Guy, $5 super chat. I'm so disgusted to be Canadian that I don't even want to wear a poppy this year. As Don Cherry says, wear a poppy. It's not about Canada. It's about our veterans. It's about those who gave their lives. Don't disrespect our veterans. Be ashamed of your country. I'm ashamed. I am deeply ashamed. In fact, I'm gonna quote John Bolton in a bit here because he had a banger of a video today. I know a lot of people didn't see it. Not as many that should have. But I want to get into what's going on with Alberta here, and then I'm going to talk about John Bolton. Make sure you wear a poppy. Thank you for the super chat. But please don't disrespect our veterans. If you can see through that. So they say they're scrapping the emissions cap. They're not. Down here you've got Rob Anderson calling out Trevor Tombe. I wish it were so Trevor Tombe, but alas, we're not there yet. It's we will get rid of the cap if Alberta does XYZ. Negotiations continue. Hopefully we have progress to report by Grey Cup. So what you'll see here, let's bring that up so we can see it in fine print. Here is what the Liberals have proposed. So when Danielle Smith says, "Oh, they're going to scrap the industrial the cap, the emissions cap," it says the deployment at a scale of technology such as carbon capture and storage would create the circumstances whereby the oil and gas emissions cap would no longer be required, as it would have marginal value in reducing emissions. So if we're bringing in carbon capturing, following this review, the government will announce steps on electric vehicles in the coming weeks. What they've talked about in this, there's conditions. Some of it is extending the cap to 2055, I believe it is, or 2050 instead of 2030. They're not doing anything. They're saying you're going to have to bring in more green energy programs. You're going to have to bring in more emissions, carbon capture. It says Canada's committed to bringing down the emissions associated with the production of oil and gas, effective carbon markets, enhanced oil and gas methane regulations, and the deployment at a scale of technologies such as carbon capture and storage would create the circumstances whereby the oil and gas emissions cap.
Deployment at scale.
Yes.
That means a lot.
It's basically going to value and boost Mark Carney's industrial carbon tax, and it is going to reduce the output of Alberta. It's a nothing burger. It's here strictly to fool Albertans into thinking they're getting a deal. They're not getting anything. And if you want further proof, I don't want to show any videos on tonight's stream because there's an echo still. I still haven't got that adjusted.
Are we going to talk about David?
David Eby.
David.
So here we go with David Eby. Thank you to Yasin Boko who passed this on to me. Government EXE is corrupt. David Eby just told Alberta they will never get a pipeline through BC. This is why Canada is a failed country. This is why Alberta needs to leave. So it doesn't matter what bad laws Mark Carney makes Albertans think they're going to get rid of. Team Canada doesn't give a shit about Alberta. They don't care.
He put out a video today signing a document with the Indigenous tribe that lives up there, pledging to never build a pipeline to the northern BC coast.
And not only that, he's using the Indigenous tribes in the land grabs of the UNDRIP, I believe it's what's called, the United Nations UNDRIP, where people who are living in Richmond have now been told, you can't sell your homes. You don't own your homes. We're giving them back to the Indigenous.
Who's going to buy that house in that space?
Well, nobody's going to buy the house, but the problem is they're saying you don't actually own it. So all those property taxes you've paid over the years that you've had your mortgage, nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't go to anything. You truly don't own your home. We're going to have white guilt shame to give it back to the Indigenous, and they can decide what they're going to do with it. But until they figure it out, you're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to do anything with this land. Like, imagine buying a I would imagine Richmond homes are over $1 million, right? So a $1 million to $1.5 million property or more, and being told, yeah, you don't actually own this. You owe all that money to the bank, but you don't own your property.
All that equity in your home, that's nothing now.
Oh, it belongs to the Indigenous for things that happened hundreds of years ago. And now David Eby is manipulating that UNDRIP to stop pipelines, to say, well, it's their land now. They're the ones who say they don't want it. If you think Mark Carney's going to negotiate a deal with Danielle Smith, and I sincerely hope Danielle is not going to try and bake Albertans to be stupid enough to believe that there is a deal by the 16th. They will not get rid of the emissions cap. Not the way we need it getting rid of. They will never get rid of the tanker ban. That's been stated here by David Eby. John Middleton, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Even if they agreed to 5 pipelines, Alberta still needs to leave in order to avoid a socialist dystopia. I know we're out if Alberta doesn't leave. Absolutely we are. Thank you so much for the super chat. Michael, $2 super chat. We got no pipelines. Then stop using our airspace.
I was thinking that too about earlier. Like if you guys like do secede, like just stop letting trucks from BC go to Ontario. Just block your borders, or like charge them tariffs or something ridiculous like that. After
we
all
need to
done.
build a wall around Alberta, and those who come in are gonna have to do it legally. Okay, that's gonna have a big beautiful door, and you're gonna have to pay tariffs if you want to come in. That's what we'll do when we're a republic. What you don't realize is that Alberta has the potential to be like the West's version of Dubai with its economy. And yet we're sitting here twiddling our thumbs saying, oh, let's get a deal with Mark Carney. Let's keep a united Canada together. And this was the argument that I had with the Forever Canada commies that were looking to get this Let's Stay in Canada petition going, where they said, by the way, we're going to shame Danielle Smith into not supporting anybody talking about separatism this week because 400,000 people signed a piece of paper that said they want to stay in Canada. I'm sorry, if you're going to tell me that those people's voices are more important than the couple of million who live in Alberta, if you're going to allow their vote to be heard, our vote gets to be heard. And this seems to be the argument that I have every single time when these people can't give me a solid reason why we should stay in Canada. If you're so convinced the vote isn't going to work on our end, just let us have the referendum. Let us vote and let the cards fall where they may. And when it's all done, if we lose, we'll concede. We'll say, okay, I guess we're not ready to go. But until then, shut up.
You can tell how worried they are by how much they're fighting and how much they're like the whole. I didn't actually bring anything up about this, but like the whole recall campaign that the NDP and all the unions are trying to do now, like they're literally trying to overthrow the government from within the framework that they're allowed to do so.
Yeah. Bexy coming in with a $2 super chat, or £2. Thank you so much, a UK viewer. The state want you to bark and not bite. They're going to get it. Alberta's ready to go. I've got tons of stuff here to talk about. And I know it's kind of all over the place, folks. I apologize because you can't really balance it out tonight. Let's do this.
I said to you earlier today, I'm like, there's so much stuff. Like, I don't even know.
There's so much to talk about. There's just so much to go through tonight. This is why I said we can't have an election right now. We couldn't go to a spring election or even a Christmas election. We had to at least wait for spring. We had to wait for things to get worse. But here it is. This is the future of Canada. Mark's going to get his majority government. But here's the projections if we were to get an election today. Liberals, 182 seats, plus 13. Conservatives, 131. The Bloc would get 15. They'd be down 7. NDP, 14 seats. They'd add 7. The Green would remain at 1 for Elizabeth May. It'd be a Liberal majority government. And we talked about this. And they've got it all boiled down here for you. Greater Toronto, of course, would vote red down in the corner on the right. Ottawa, Gatineau would be fully red. Kingston, red mostly. Sudbury, red. Capitale Nationale, red. With a good sense of conservatism, you'd have Sherbrooke red, Trois-Rivières red, Montreal red, Halifax, St. John's, the Maritimes all red, Charlottetown, Moncton, Fredericton all going red. This is the part of the country that we've shown that Matt put on the screen, that 50% of Canada's population lives in this area. This is what decides a majority government. As long as they keep saying Trump, it doesn't matter how many bad checks Mark Carney writes, how much he invests, how much he tells you that it's not him. He's going to go talk another deal. As long as he ties it to Donald Trump and scares people into thinking Trump's the bad guy here, this is what we're going to be stuck with, folks.
If
we're
I was
not
to
voting
put on
our way
my
out of this.
Tinfoil conspiracy hat for a minute, and I might say something like, I think the Liberals, I think they sabotage the talks on purpose to not get a deal with Donald Trump, to use him as a bad guy in this next election. Ladies and gentlemen,
that's exactly
this
what
is all insane.
This is exactly what they're doing. Doug Ford did it and it worked wonders for him. Mark Carney did it during the election. It worked for him to get a minority government, even when the votes were in favor for Pierre. And this is why I say, folks, when you look at Crystia crossing the floor, that's just the beginning of the uniparty. This is them showing you it doesn't matter how you vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for. They decide your future, not you. We live in a banana republic. Full blown. And with a $10 super chat, we are so cooked. We need to leave. I'm so disappointed in humanity. Absolutely. I hear you. Raptor Guy, $2. I use Abacus polls. So I typically go around. I look at Liaison. I look at Abacus. I look at Nanos. The reason I look at those, and I don't always trust them, so please don't think that I take the gospel out of those, but these are ones, what you have to realize. Let's bring this image up again. Thank you for the super chat. What you have to realize, and the reason I use them, is that when you pull up these polls, when you see like Toronto, Gatineau, Ottawa, Gatineau, Montreal, these are the areas that anytime they poll people, they usually poll about 11 to 1,500 people, and they're in these ridings because they want to get the results they're looking for in order to scare people. But everyone who hopefully watches this, stream, this channel, who has a little bit of common sense should understand that in these areas where these votes matter the most, if they keep waving Donald Trump around in Toronto, in Ottawa, Gatineau, in Montreal, how do you think people with TDS are going to take it? They don't care how bad. Right now. They don't care how bad Mark Carney is. It's just, bad Donald Trump. And they don't bother to stop and think Trump has no effect on what happens to them in Canada, aside from tariffs or USMCA. If you actually had somebody like Pierre in, and this is where I wanted to quote John Bolton, who's a good friend of the channel. He did a great job at the Alberta rally as the MC. John Bolton had a video he put out today that had been sitting in his playlist since September. And he said, conservatives, would we have a better government with the conservatives? Maybe. It's yet to be decided how much better it would be. But he says, I don't want to live in Canada anymore. I'm not happy with it. He didn't say I want to live. He says, I'm not happy with Canada anymore. I don't like Canada anymore. And he says, and it doesn't mean I don't like the people or I don't like my country. He says, I don't like what it's turned into. And that's the feeling I have right now, is that when you see this behavior that we just pointed out on the maps, that all they have to do is say Trump and it's over for us. It doesn't matter about policy. It doesn't matter about lifestyle. It doesn't matter how far in debt we are. It's that they keep voting for stupidity, poor representation, and woke policies instead of taking Canadians into consideration.
Even aside from all that, I just absolutely hate the way our seat system in the government works based on the British parliamentary system. I just hate it.
Somebody asked me where I live. I'm in Alberta.
I've lived in Manitoba. Location.
Yeah, undisclosed location in Alberta. No. Look, I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I was born in Winnipeg. I've lived in Alberta. I lived in Alberta from birth. I was born in Winnipeg, moved to Alberta instantly. Lived in Alberta till I was 5 in Calgary, and then moved back to Winnipeg for 10 years. Grew up as a kid there, and then moved back to Calgary when I was 15. And I've been in Alberta ever since. So the majority of my life has been in Alberta, even though I'll always say Winnipeg's home. Shout out to Go Jets. But what I have to say is that this isn't about pro-Alberta. It's the last bastion of freedom. If BC was telling David Eby to shove it and they had a conservative leader or a UCP type leader who was changing laws to let them vote on a referendum, if they had the support for a referendum, I'd be cheering for BC independence right now. I would be cheering for Manitoba independence if they had the same options. And it was them and not us. The reason I'm cheering for Alberta and Saskatchewan right now is because they've been handed what I said in my speech, a golden opportunity to get away from this. And what I've just shown you on that map, ladies and gentlemen, is you're not voting your way out of this problem. There is no savior. There is no saving grace coming your way. And I don't like being a doomsayer. I don't like pointing these things out. But we've now spent close to 11 years in this. And every time we think we have, but every time we think we have an up, the boot goes back on the neck and you're told, sorry, You're not getting out of this anytime soon.
Because of the seat system. You can't get away from the Greater Toronto Area. You can't get away from Mega City 1.
No. Raptor Guy, $5 super chat. Almost everything this week has been more unwatchable than Telefrancais. God, I hate that you bring that show up. Yeah, it's nightmare fuel. Look, I yearn for a better Canada. I really do. I wish things were better in Canada. I wish our lives were better. I wish there was an answer that didn't involve separation. But it's literally the only card left in the deck. And that's what people have to understand, why it's so important that Alberta does this. For the rest of the country, if Alberta were to leave, the rest of the country would need an overhaul, and they would have to really think about how they're going to do things going forward. So technically, it could help the rest of the country to end the bad policies that are ruining their lives. And Alberta could still sell its products to Canada. So not only if Alberta left would it help.
There's an absolutely clear divide right at the Canadian Shield, right at the Manitoba
Let's bring
border.
it back up.
It goes right up through the south. It's all blue.
Yep. Well, look at Winnipeg.
There is
half red, half blue.
Yes.
But then you go Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary, Edmonton. Calgary's got one zone. Yeah.
Of people who think a certain way and a whole other side of the country that think a completely different way. And you can't have representation when that other side outweighs your seats by almost double. You just can't.
I love Snatch. He gets so passionate. Do me a favor. Here's an experiment. Wish in one hand, shit in the other. Let's see which one fills up first. I got sour news for you. My wishes would fill up first because they run on unicorn dust. So eat that.
Just like the budget.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they wish in one hand and crap in the other, and theirs seems to fill up with wishes first. When you get over to GTA, or sorry, Greater Vancouver area, they're almost the same. But that's where you see all the liberal votes. Victoria, as well as Greater Vancouver, that's where it all is. But Okanagan, mostly conservative. Lethbridge, conservative. Calgary, conservative, minus one riding. Edmonton, aside from the woke...
I thought Calgary was really red.
It's always threats of red, but it never goes that way. People there know what communism looks like. It's weird because the mayoral votes and the provincial votes move in different directions, but they stay mostly conservative at a federal level. But Edmonton, you've got this small NDP section and this one liberal riding over here that Randy used to run in. But it's mostly around the downtown. Winnipeg's split in half. Regina's blue, Saskatoon's blue. Southern Ontario has common sense voters, mostly blue. Windsor's blue, Niagara blue, Hamilton, Waterloo, a mix but mostly light blue. And of course, the different shades show you the stronger presence of those parties.
All you have to do is get out of the major cities where people actually have to work for a living. Farmers, oil workers, miners, whatever. And the cities are all full of people who will die if DoorDash stops delivering.
Anton, never apologize for anything that you give to this channel. I certainly don't ask for it, but I please, I'm grateful for any super chat. It's definitely not necessary, and I never look down on anybody. In fact, let's get to your super chat. 279, did you get my email letter to Danielle Smith? I did. I got a lot of email letters to Danielle Smith, and I will be giving those to the Premier, along with my wishes and crap that are in my hands as to where I would like Alberta to go when I meet with her later this month. Let's move on from the map of that, why an election wasn't good, and let's get to the real issues here that I haven't addressed yet.
Don't shake her hand with the one that's full of crap.
I won't. Here's part of the problem, folks, when we look at why we're stuck in this mess. David Coletto tweeting out, 70% of Canadians say they'd accept slower economic growth if it meant more economic independence from the U.S. That sentiment cuts across age, region, and party lines, a rare point of unity. Now, again, this is an Abacus data poll, so I know what that means, but take a look at this. I am willing to accept slower economic growth in Canada if it means greater economic independence from the United States. This is how TDS works in this country. Again, Abacus would have polled around those red zones where the votes matter. Not across Canada.
I would like
this
to
would
have
been
that broken down by age and gender, please.
Yeah, and 99 says, what idiots? They are idiots. But this is why there's no future in this country. Strongly agree, 31%. Somewhat agree, 40%. So you have 70% that are somewhat or greater in agreement. That as long as you don't mention Donald Trump, do whatever you like. And this is why there would be a majority government. This is why Mark Carty will get a majority government without an election. This is why things will continue to get worse. And this was the 70% I said need to get bent over and screwed before they start realizing how bad it is. Their portfolios need to turn to ash. Their equity, their neighborhoods need to fall apart. The crime needs to overtake it. Like, I don't wish bad things upon people, but all of this has to happen in order for them to say, holy crap, I guess I shouldn't have voted for the Liberals. Raptor Guy, another $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Did you get the video I sent you of Trader Chris kicking Keurig out a few years ago? I did. Again, I can't show that tonight because there's an issue with the audio. But thank you so much for sending that my way. I did see that before you sent it to me, but I do appreciate it. Only 8% strongly disagree. Somewhat agree is 11%, not sure is 10%. Like, this is how you know it doesn't matter how you vote. You're not getting out of this. And Canadians should be worried. So when I say Alberta's the last bastion of hope, freedom, prosperity, it's not because I live in Alberta and I'm a smug prick. It's because that's the reality, folks. It's the only thing we have left. It's all we have left in this country. And I've been saying it in my videos. If you have the opportunity to pack up and move, do it. Do it now. Because first off, I have found out that you don't need to be here for 3 years to get the vote. You need a Alberta address. You need to have a mailing address. They haven't stipulated yet in a referendum vote. If there's a time period you have to have that address for. But get out here and join that movement.
That's a bit of a double-edged sword because
it is. That's why we need more coming out here. That more people who want independence. Those people. But again, they may not have. They have to live full time and reside in that address. So it can't be temporary addresses. They can't just fly somebody in who doesn't live in the residence. It can't be a PO box or anything like that. This is why they're validating all of the people who signed the Forever Canada petition. And again, I could be wrong on that statement, folks. But it's my understanding that there's no time limit on residency to vote.
We're not allowed to be wrong. They'll pull the video.
Parachutes and pirouettes, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. At 69 years old, I'm ashamed of what my country has become. We all are. I mean, I grew up in a time where, again, it was the 80s and the 90s, but nobody would talk politics. In fact, I saw a comic strip the other day that showed, I think it was like a Winnie the Pooh one or something, or it was Scooby-Doo or something that said, I missed a time in our lives where the world was easier because we didn't know all the terrible things that were actually happening. And maybe that's part of it growing up in those times that we didn't see it. But I can tell you right now, I never once heard my parents talking politics. I never once heard my friends' parents talking politics. People could go on holidays. Like, Matt, you guys used to go to your cabin all the time. Your mom had weekends off. Like, she could afford to work a job and still have her family. My family did the same thing. It was a tight budget, but they still made ends meet while, Dad was creating a company. But families were able to have a parent stay at home. You were able to buy groceries, and if you had a tight budget, you could still buy enough food to feed your family. You just had to get resourceful as to the kind of meals you were going to make. Now, I mean, I said it last week, and I'll keep using it as an example. We said with the 7 people currently living in our house, we'll go make a lasagna because it stretches far for everybody. There's leftovers. You go to the store to get the stuff to make a lasagna, $100. $100 to make a meal. Who can afford that? I watched a man at the Walmart in Spruce Grove put down his debit card, and it rejected it several times. And I wished he would have said whether he had the money in there or not, because I didn't know if it was a bank card error. But if it would have been because he was broke, I literally would have picked up his tab. I've done it before, and I would have done it then. But that is the struggle of Canadians right now.
When I come out there, I'll make spaghetti because I don't know how to make it for one person. It'll feed the whole family for a week.
It'll hopefully be less than $100. And with a $5 super chat, I worry about my grandchildren. What is their future going to be like? That's the one promising factor that I push to people on independence. You have a golden opportunity here to vote for whether you have grandchildren or not. If you do, their futures, their great-grandchildren's futures, multiple generations to be prosperous and get away from the mob. This government is literally telling you that they're corrupt and they're here to steal from you. And all these morons who understand nothing about politics, nothing about government, keep promoting and voting it through. They keep saying, govern me harder, Daddy. Marianne Drinkwater becoming a new member. Marianne, thank you so much. I got to admit, she gave me a bag of lollipops at the rally. I'm almost through those lollipops. Although I've been trying to get away from that stuff, but I appreciate it. Always great, Marianne. Thank you so much for that.
Did you
Bradley,
forget to dad tax your kids' Halloween candy?
I don't dad tax. This is a tax-free nation over here. Bradley with a $2 super chat. We are struggling so bad. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the super chat. Regardless of how things are. I always feel guilty getting those super chats. Chad with a $5 super chat. A liberal majority will pass every law they can to silence shows like yours. Welcome to China, North Korea. Our forefathers are spinning in their graves. There is hope when it comes to the censorship, and I'm sorry, please chat, don't think I've been ignoring you. I've been on a rant. The benefit is Justin Trudeau tried to pass censorship laws when he had a majority government, and they failed. They failed in the Senate. So there is still hope with all of the dirt that's been kicked up by the Conservatives that we hopefully won't see mass censorship, at least to the degree that they're talking about. Time will tell. And again, all it means is that this channel will have to delete its history. I'll have to delete all my tweets, but we'll just have to be careful about how we say things. That's all. Evolve or die. That's what it's going to be. And with a $2 super chat, independence, our only hope, and their hope too. It is. That's why that vote is going to be so important.
With a Starlink on the roof.
Yeah.
Set up a van with a Starlink on the roof. We'll be doing pirate radio.
That vote is going to be so important. Let's get over to the budget because we've been talking about Alberta. And why it's affecting. So again, folks, if Danielle or anybody comes out saying, hey, they're getting rid of the emissions cap. No, they're not. I'm glad we touched on that so people could see it. If you got in late, go and watch it back after the stream. You want to see that. Daryl, becoming a new member of the Patriots Club. Welcome to the Patriots Club. Thank you so much. Dr. Leslie Lewis, good friend of the channel, friend of mine. I love any time I get to sit and chat with her. While Canadians struggle to make ends meet, the Liberals tabled a budget today that runs a $78.3 billion deficit. Canada needs a plan that brings prices down and restores affordability. Conservatives will continue to advocate for exactly that. But they're not going to get it because they have a minority party. They're outnumbered. Mark's getting his majority. But what she highlights down here, budgetary balance, $78.3 billion.
And please note, people, that when Trudeau, when his government collapsed, it was over a $65 billion deficit budget. That's what caused the Trudeau government to fail. And we're sitting at 78 now with this one.
Yeah. It's they're saying over 400 billion by the time he's done his 4-year term.
Ugh.
Like, I don't even know what to say to that. We talked on the other video.
Generations can pay that off.
Well, and I'll put it into simplicity for anybody who missed it on the video when I was talking about this, about the budget failing before it even came out. You know, imagine if you live at home, and your spouse comes in and says, hey, honey, I want to buy a brand new pickup truck. It's $80,000. And your spouse says, well, honey, we can't afford a new pickup truck. We don't have $80,000. And he says, that's okay. We're going to borrow the money. We'll just go and get it on credit. It doesn't matter. We're going to buy it. And they say, but we can't afford the payments. Oh, that's okay. We're investing in our family. We're investing in a truck because by spending the money, we can now drive around and pick up large items. We can drive them around. We can maybe move some things for some friends. Do you see all the benefits? It's an investment. It's not me buying a truck because I happen to like trucks or I want something fancy to drive around. It's an investment. That's the same thing the government's doing to you right now. Don't mind us printing all this money and devaluing your dollar any further. Don't mind us making sure you can't afford to feed your family. We're investing in you guys. But hey, we're going to have to tighten the old belts while we're doing that because all this money printing, well, it's going to make things harder for you guys. But don't worry, it's an investment. Give me a break.
And also, please note that all the people making these decisions, all your MLAs and EMP, whatever the heck they call themselves, the right honorables, they're not going to suffer. They keep voting themselves their own raises to cover it. They have salaries that are way higher than the median Canadian income. They're not going to struggle. We are.
Yep. Marianne Drinkwater, $5 super chat. My eldest daughter has already moved to North Dakota. This week, my granddaughters are down there checking it out as they are afraid of what's coming. Did you ever think Canada was going to get there? Again, as a 45-year-old man, I never once thought that I would live in a country such as Canada, where I was so proud of my flag, where I was so proud of the people within it, to say, yeah, everybody loves us around the world. We're never going to be in a state like that. And yet here we are. People living in tents, drugs, robberies, crime, PDF files running around. Being told that they don't have to go to jail, but you can go to jail for mischief and be sued by the government recklessly. I never in a million years thought this is what we'd be doing, what we'd be talking about. Reg becoming a member for 18 months. Thank you so much. I'm third generation Albertan, and I was brought up to be self-sufficient and work hard, help your neighbor, respecting veterans, independence now. All of those things were values that Canadians had 20 years ago. All of them. It wasn't just Albertans. And it's so sad because even growing up in Winnipeg, some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, friendlies, they'd help you no matter what. If you needed help, hey, we're right here to give you. They used to say friendly Manitoba on the license plates. I think they still do.
Not me, though. I hate you all.
Well, there you go. But nonetheless, the country has spiraled. And I can see it in this chat, and I see it amongst everybody that, and this is why I hate doing these terrible streams where we have to be negative the whole time. People are losing hope. They're done. They're out of hope.
I legitimately try to find nice things to talk about, at least one in this stream every week, and it's really hard. Because, unless we want to start sharing opinion pieces about local things that are nice, like the old ladies growing flowers or something, but we're here to talk about the important stuff, the big stuff. And unfortunately, all of that sucks right now.
Laurel with a $7 super chat. Fringe, if you have the opportunity to leave Alberta for Texas as a young person, would you take the chance? Thank you for your content. Listen, I love Texas. I love America. My wife and I actually talked about it. She had the opportunity to go to Texas, maybe 6 years ago. It was just before the pandemic. And we talked about it. It was a 1-year visa that could have led to permanent residency and staying. The biggest problem for me was we were in the process of losing my mother to cancer. I didn't want to leave my father behind. And Mrs. Fringe's family, her whole family is here as well. And it would be tough to come back and visit regularly. It's expensive to fly. And it's not like you would take a road trip from Texas to Alberta. But if things got bad enough, if it was simple to move to the United States, absolutely, I would consider it. I would love to consider it. But the fact of the matter is, the Americans will not take Canadians on asylum like Canada does with anybody from any country. There's no easy way to get into the United States. It costs thousands upon thousands of dollars. Takes months of time. Lawyers. I've heard it is quite stressful.
South, and you just come in illegally, then you can just apparently just be a citizen instantly.
I've heard it is very, very, almost impossibly hard to move to the United States. And even when you do, they stop. Like I know one of our friends who moved down to Texas to a place called Katy, Texas, just outside of Houston. Their spouse was told, you're not allowed to work for the first 2 years that you're here. The other spouse had to get a working visa. So you had to be one income, which made it difficult, although their income was sufficient. But there's a lot of restrictions and there's a lot of things in place that would make it hard. It's not to say I wouldn't take it up on that challenge, but there's a number of factors. Do we leave our family? Do we go? I'd rather stay and fight for Alberta. I'd rather stay here and fight for a free and fair Alberta within its own republic. But
maybe once Carney gets his majority, and if they squash the referendum in Alberta, maybe the Donald will give us asylum. Oh God.
I'd love it if he gave us asylum, if he came out and said, listen, I've been watching this wonderful channel called Unacceptable Fringe. He does a very good impression of me, I got to say. I love it. It's wonderful. He can come over here, and then if he wants to bring anybody from his community that are conservative-leaning individuals, they're welcome to come as well. It'll never happen. Matt, why don't you break down what's going on in the budget? I've been talking for long enough.
So I will say, before we even get into this, this just came out yesterday. It's absolutely huge. I haven't had time to comb through it line by line.
Well, there was just too much for this show. I mean, we're already over an hour.
Well, the issue too is they don't just give you line items and amounts and what they're spending on. They don't break it down. This is a fiscal document and a plan, and there's so many words in it that mean nothing. So
yeah, for anybody who hasn't looked at the budget, it's tons of word salad. Matt and I were combing through it every opportunity we had yesterday and today, and it's mostly, if you've ever sat through question period, that's basically what it is, just word salad, word salad,
it's like a
word
liberal
salad.
answering a question during question period.
You get a tiny little bit of information and then more word salad.
So they have $25 billion over 5 years for housing. They have $30 billion over 5 years for defense, $115 over 5 for infrastructure, $110 billion over 5 years for productivity and competitiveness. So these are very vague things. And look at this. This is a financial document. Look at all of this nonsense. I just want a number and what you're spending it on. And so here they break down the infrastructure part, $115 billion, trade and transport, Indigenous communities and municipal infrastructure, other infrastructure and assets, core public infrastructure, wastewater transit. So there's just these big chunks in this graph. And I mean, maybe it's in here somewhere because, like I said, I didn't get to comb through it too much, but that's so broad. They're not telling you, okay, this much for this thing here and this much for that thing there. It's really hard to figure it out. Supercharging growth. Yeah, this is the really vague one. $110 billion, regional economic development, emerging technology support, AI, quantum, and electric vehicles, of course. Got to have that in there. Productivity super deduction. I don't even know what the Shrek that is. Innovation support program, scientific research, and then other tax credits. How much things do you think you can hide in a category called other tax credits?
What you can take from all of this is it's basically, when you think about things like gender rights, all of that's lumped into these kind of categories. It's all word salad, again, just to tell you, hey, we're going to be throwing your money around in areas that you're not going to agree with, so we're going to make it sound real scientific and productive. Carrie saying Matt should look at the immigration plan, permanent residence, etc. I heard about the new offering for second-born or second generation.
Yes, I promise I will have
Canadians.
A little bit more of an in-depth thing on this for next week. They just came out with this yesterday. I was working all day today. I didn't have time to do this. But this is a financial document, a budget. What is all of this nonsense? Graphs and figures.
It's pretty weird. Duck saying, "What is gender rice? Is it an excuse to continue saying soy boy as an insult?" No, it's a way. I know you're being sarcastic, but
I brought it up last week.
So Master Snatch is a good idea. I'll pull this up too. Use Grok to look over the budget and see how much money is being diverted to green initiatives and how many of these different subcategories are all filled with the word green. Let me pull that.
Once again, I encourage everybody who has the time to go read this for yourself. I don't know if you want to read all of this, but there should be a spreadsheet version of this. And I'm sure maybe somebody somewhere will make one, but I just want to see lines. I want to see this much, this spot here, this much here. I want to see every penny and where it's going. Why is that so hard? Well, obviously, it's probably not hard. They're doing it this way on purpose, because who's going to read all this? The people who voting on it aren't going to read all of this.
Okay, hold on. How much is being used or being diverted? Let's make sure it's... I like how Snatch worded it. To green...
Oh, here you go. Immigration, refugees, and citizenship.
So let's go through that while I'm doing this.
Yeah, like I said, we're doing it live. I'm skimming this right from the government website here. Modernizing government operations. In millions of dollars. Streamlining program delivery, recalibrating government programs. Like, these are so generic. Imagine the amount of things they could hide in these programs, and this is the amount of money they're giving it. So a total of $614 million between now and 2030 for this one little section. And, like, once again, modernizing government operations, $140.4 million for 2026, 2027, which without saying exactly what they're going to do with that. You know, like, I would really like to see a line item, because this is where they hide things like the ArriveCan app, where they pay some company $10 million that doesn't actually do anything.
That's scary.
It is. And to be fair, it's always been like this.
Yeah. You know what's really scary? Carson gifted 5 unacceptable Fringe memberships to the Patriots Club. Carson, thank you so much. It's very generous of you. Let's bring up what I filled on Grok.
Right.
We took a look here, folks. So we asked Grok exactly what Snatch said. How much of the 2025 Canadian budget is being diverted to green initiatives, and how many of these different subcategories contain the word green? So here's allocation of green initiatives in Canada's 2025 federal budget. Canada's federal budget for 2025-26, titled Budget 2025 Canada Stong, and labeled on a November 4th, 2025 project's total budgetary spending, approximately $486.9 billion for the fiscal year, including $222.9 billion in voted expenditures and $264 billion in statutory expenditures. This figure encompasses all federal operations, transfers, and investments, with a projected deficit of $78.3 billion. Green initiatives in the budget primarily refer to measures supporting climate action, clean energy transition, environmental protection, low-carbon economic competitiveness. However, the budget reflects a pivot under Mark Carney's government towards climate competitiveness strategy, emphasizing emissions intensity reductions, industrial carbon pricing enhancements, there's the key for you, and tax incentives for clean technologies. So Mark's going full in on the green initiatives. Based on the budget document for analysis, direct new spending on green initiatives, limited to target investments totaling $2.675 billion over 5 years, roughly $535 million annually. This includes $2 billion for the Critical Minerals Sovereign Fund at National Resources Canada to support low-carbon mining and processing projects essential for clean supply chains, $635.2 million over 3 years for green skills training and work-integrated learning in clean energy sectors via Employment and Social Development Canada. So, cannon fodder. This is for propaganda. $635 million. $40 million over 2 years for a new youth climate corps to engage young Canadians in climate resilience and clean growth projects. That's a nice waste of. Yep, there's a nice waste of $40 million. What else do we have here?
I don't know if you guys remember from last week, because they took the video down, but all that stuff that I talked about where they were doing like gender equality rice in Vietnam and green initiatives for female farmers in Uganda, or whatever the heck all of that was. This is aside from that. That's still there. This is different. Mm-hmm. Those are things that are already committed to.
The bulk of here we have the bulk of green support comes from refundable investment tax credits. So these are write-offs for companies. Clean energy, enhanced rates up to 30% for grid upgrades and renewables, projected to mobilize $20 to $30 billion in private clean power investments over the next 5 years. Again, a lot of conflicts of interest for Mark Carney here. This all sounds like Brookfield. Clean technology manufacturing, expanded additional critical minerals with rates of 15 to 60% on eligible equipment estimated at $10 to $15 billion in incentives. Carbon capture, this is the one for Alberta. Utilization and storage, extended higher rates up to 60% through 2035, targeting oil gas decarbonization. I don't even know what the hell that is, with 5 to 10 billion in projected uptake.
Please note also that the government gets to decide who gets the contracts to build these solar panels or carbon capture factories or whatever. And note that Mark Carney and others like him have stock or stake in these companies, either directly or indirectly, hidden however they can, basically, you know.
Yep.
And like, even let's say, for the sake of playing devil's advocate, Mark Carney has completely divested himself from Brookfield, like he says he has. Yep. What's to stop him once he's done setting all this up? He quits. He goes back to Brookfield
and makes a killing.
After they've got all these contracts.
Yeah, these are all items that Carney is personally invested in. Again, Moose on the Loose has shown that. Master Snatch comes in. Fun fact, the Critical Mineral Sovereign Fund is riddled with the term green and green initiative. That means all the money is going to disappear up Carney's asshole. Yeah, this is... I mean, infrastructure with green components, $115 billion over 5 years for nation-building projects. Electrical grids, clean transport corridors, 20%, which is $23 billion eligible for green uses like EV charging or renewable under the Build Communities Strong Fund. So again, it's just more of what Justin Trudeau did, all to make Mark Carney rich, his investors rich. This is why people are crossing the floor.
To get some of that sweet coin.
There's benefit for all of them to cross the floor. Don't forget, one thing I forgot to mention out of that budget that'll probably make you want to throw up some more. JJ McCullough tweeting out, if you needed more proof that Carney is fundamentally an anti-American who wishes Canada were part of Europe, give this line from the budget a peep. Here we go. Budget 2025 proposes to provide $115 million in 2025 to 26 for CBC Radio Canada to strengthen its mandate to serve the public and to better reflect the needs of Canadians. The government will explore modernizing Radio Canada's mandate to strengthen independence and is working with CBC Radio Canada to explore participation in Eurovision. So when you think about why all these European policies are coming over to Canada, we talk about digital ID. We talk about censorship. We talk about everything. Mark Carney loves Europe. He loves the UK.
Please note that $150 million is in addition to CBC Radio's normal budget that they get every year from our government to spew our propaganda against.
That's on top. That's on top. They're not just getting 150. They're getting 150 extra. Here's Snatch saying, sorry, chat, but now you're going down the rabbit hole. The reality of the mismanagement is mind-boggling. If I ran my companies like this, I would be destroyed in here. That's the problem. And that's, again, where it comes down to the stupidity of, where's the graph that we saw? Where's the one that we saw? This one. When you said, I'm willing to accept slower economic growth in Canada if it means greater economic independence from the United States. Suck my ass. I don't like using such graphic language, but this is why I have no tolerance for stupid people. This is why I can't put up with them anymore. Because they're going to sit there and tell you, you can run the country like the worst company of all time. You can hemorrhage and bleed jobs. Companies can go to the United States. People can't afford food. Crime runs rampant. People are living in tents. People are told they can't sell their homes because it belongs to the Indigenous, but that's okay. As long as Donald Trump's name doesn't get brought up and we don't have to cower in fear of Orange Man bad. Do whatever you like.
Hey, pop my page on the budget up. I found another fun item. So in the Department of Defense, they're getting almost $20 billion a year for communications security establishment. What do you think is going to happen in there?
Oh,
the security of information is paramount.
Yep. Well, did you see our top general crying the other day about systemic racism?
How is that chick a general? General of what? Like, for real.
General Karen.
I was talking about Buddy Ryan,
about,
who's he's a commander or something. If he's in the chat, please tell me what your actual rank is so I don't butcher it. But he runs a base somewhere in BC, and he was like, people were allowed to take the rest of the day off if that speech of hers caused them undue emotional duress.
Go to CBC's crying room.
How are you people supposed? I can't say that. I'll get canceled like Don Cherry.
What do you mean, you people?
How is our military supposed to close with and kill Canada's enemies should it come to it if they might need the rest of the day off because this lady general's speech might have offended them too much?
Yep. Well, here you've got Snatch saying if the government actually cared about the environment, they would ban all imports from India and China and Indonesia. The way that they treat their environment is beyond contempt. I've been saying that for ages. You know, you talk to us about carbon taxes and we need to be responsible with the environment, yet the biggest polluters in the world are China and India, and nothing happens to them. And it's funny that when you bring that point up, as I go back in my bookmarks here, Anita Anand came out stating that, here it is, Government EXE had it. I'm going to remove this for 1 second while you're flipping through that. Anita Anand says, Canadians should expect more Chinese tourists to come here to build our economy and grow our communities. So let's open the door for China, folks. You heard about the police stations out east? Is this the Liberal plan? Sabotage our relationship with the U.S. and get into bed with China. How dare Canadians are okay with this? Or how are Canadians okay with this? This is insane. This lady's got to go. She's got to go. Yep.
They all do.
Yep.
They all do.
You
They're
see Sue saying more? Yeah, way more. Way more. It's about to get, this is what I'm saying, it's going to get much worse, folks. These lunatics, and keep in mind, they're getting a majority government soon. It's coming. It's coming.
Almost every one of these items in here, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of still scrolling.
And if you don't think it's coming, if you want to see one more thing that'll get you your piss to a boil, I might as well get to it today instead of later. Canada Post has a new Remembrance Day stamp. It's in honor of Sikh soldiers. Sikhs. Let me put that on the screen for you there so you can see it in full. Forget the people who gave their lives for our country, who bled for Canada for the flag.
I saw.
And I'm not saying Sikhs weren't involved, but
I saw somebody tweet today that there was like 10 that fought for Canada in World War I and a few hundred in World War II. Like, a lot fought for the British Empire, but they're not Canadian.
I'm not saying there's no Sikh Canadians that fought in the military, but this is where people need to get pissed off and angry. This is where people need to realize they're literally waving this shit in your face and saying, have you had enough yet? Are you done? You want to take a little more? They don't care anymore about this country. They don't care about the people of it anymore. I keep telling my wife, it's kind of like the bully on the playground pointing at the little kid in the chest saying, what are you going to do about it? We're the little kid, and the government is the bully. And they keep poking and poking and poking, and we just say, that's okay. No big deal. Bring another Sikh stamp in. Wave your Palestinian flags in the streets. Pray in the streets and tell us that we're terrible people. Even though the war had a peace deal reached, tell us that we have to welcome them all into our country. Tell us that they can shit in our streets. They can assault our women. They can tell us all how ungrateful we are and how we should be the ones to leave.
Well, we're trying.
You're told by, you're told by places like TAFSIC. If you haven't heard of TAFSIC, the East Indian organization that invites YouTubers to their speaking engagements, that we should leave Canada and they should come in. I'm going to pull that because I know some people are going to come back and say TAFSIC never said that. TAFSIC had a terrible meme that they tweeted and then pulled because they got in trouble.
And to all those people who say, if you don't like it, leave. We're trying.
Here it is. TAFSIC, who invites YouTubers to their organizations. Cough, cough. This paper says I'm just as Canadian as you. No, go home. Here's the Indigenous. No, you go home. Like, we're being pushed out of our own country. And you're told that you're a racist if you want, oh, it's a white-only Canada. It has nothing to do with white-only Canada. This has to do with our heritage, our Christian values, the country as it used to run before all of this nonsense came into play. All of this bullshit about you have to apologize for your holidays. You have to be shamed into everything that you care about and everything that you do. You have to acknowledge the land. You have to welcome immigration in and bend the knee to their policies. You have to have halal everywhere. How many restaurants now only offer halal? Like, we're literally being invaded. We're being taken over, and the government is the biggest proprietor in pushing that. And we're just supposed to sit back and say, no problem. That's fine. Hate to be racist. I'd hate to stand up for my core values or beliefs. I'd hate to stick up for my Canadian identity. Because I was born in this country. I have a birth certificate that says I was born in Manitoba. I've paid taxes here ever since I began working. I'm as Canadian as it gets. If you want to tell me to leave, and you're from another country, I'll sock you in the mouth and throw you on a plane. As a courtesy. I should throw you in the ocean and tell you to swim back, but like, this is why I get fed up. Because they're literally waving their fingers at us. The government's shaming us with all this stuff, saying, oh, if you don't get on board with this, we're going to censor you. But that's okay.
No.
Put up with it a little more, folks.
You're going to go to jail for hate crimes.
What we got here? 5 million immigrants since 2021. Is that not insane?
For us, for our population, like, we're not, I mean, we're a massive country size-wise, but not population-wise.
Yeah. My 2 cents, grocery stores sell halal crap too. Time to boycott restaurants and grocery stores. But you can't. Look, the grocery stores sell things that you need. People need it. You can't just say boycott. People will still go there.
It's very interesting in Winnipeg because the different Costcos sell different things depending on where they are. Like the Costco where all of the people who wear the cloth on their head shop has the halal pigs hung up in the freezer, like the whole pig or whatever, not the pig, whatever it is.
So I don't think Mr. Doug's asking this as a slap, but he says, if you single out one group for honor and praise, what about the Ukrainians, Irish, Polish, Jews, Christians, atheists, etc.? Look, believe whatever you like. Whatever brings you comfort, you have the right to your own religious beliefs. But you don't have the right to block my streets and pray in the middle of the roads while the police protect you and tell me that I'm a terrible person in my own country because I want to be able to drive my car through. You can't run around when you're getting $8,000 checks from the government every month for living in a welfare state and telling me that I'm supposed to continue working for minimum wage where I can't afford anything and pay for my family to have a suitable lifestyle, while these invaders come in and just take whatever they want. And if they do anything bad, if they assault our women, if they break into our houses, if they disobey the laws, they're not told, hey, you can't behave in our house, it's time to go home. They're told, oh, you get bail. You get bail.
Fast the RCMP would be at my house if me and my buddies were shooting our guns off of a bridge randomly. Like, there was like 34 firearm violations in that one video, and I don't think I've heard of anything happening to those dudes. Their faces were there. One license plate was there. Surely they could find them.
Yep. But that's the difference. And they always say, oh, it's not preferred preference over who we're prosecuting. Absolutely it is. I am so sick and tired that when we look at this budget, when we look at the shenanigans, we'll say, to play it lightly, because I've already used a lot of my swears tonight. When you look at, I know I'm the one who's being bad tonight. When you look at Chris crossing the floor, and the slap in the face to his conservative constituents, when you look at the budget, when you look at what's coming, when you look at all the stuff I've shown you tonight about surveys, polls. I put out a video yesterday showing the attempts to stop Alberta Independence by actively trying to target and remove MLAs through recall legislation. Now you've got the other side saying, well, we'll recall NDPs. It's civil war without violence that's breaking out across this country. And we're on the precipice of violence. We're on the precipice of somebody having enough. And all it's going to take is one individual to snap. I don't want to see that day happen. Because I can guarantee you, if they're not on the left side of the aisle, that will be used to weaponize and suppress every free-thinking Canadian in this country. But we're getting there. You're going to push the wrong person one of these days. You're going to disrespect the wrong veteran. You're going to steal from the wrong Canadian and put them out of a job.
They should all be very thankful that they haven't stopped to pray in front of me when I'm trying to get to work, because it would be over. I'd be in jail.
I mean, there was a joke there for Chris Cross. They certainly made him jump. There was a time when our immigration system wasn't broken, when we did bring in the best and the brightest from everywhere. They assimilated and contributed. We're now getting villagers. Well, we've talked about that, and it's funny because I actually was in a Best Buy recently. I had to pick up the new headphones I'm wearing tonight, and I was talking with a salesperson who was East Indian, and he's seen my hoodie, my hat. He says, "What is that?" And I said, "Oh, I run a YouTube channel. I need the headphones actually for YouTube." And we started, and he said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Politics." And I try to play shy because, look, I know if they're East Indian and they check out the channel, they're going to hate what I do. But he said to me, "Well, do you cover like what's being covered this week?" And I said, "Well, the budget. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things, stuff going on with Alberta and their independence." And he says, "Immigration." And as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, we talk a little bit about immigration on the channel too. And the first thing he said was, "I'm an immigrant that came here from India." And he says, "I can't believe how open they keep the doors. I hate it." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "There's so many people who come here looking for free handouts." He said, "I'm working 3 jobs in this country just to try and get by." And he says, while the rest of them sit and collect checks. He said, "I don't want free money. I want to make a better life for myself and my family." He says, "I'm taking English classes. I'm trying to learn how to speak without my accent. I'm trying to understand Canadian culture." And I said to him, "But see, those are the kind of immigrants I think we need," is what I told him. Well, if you can get a job, great. If we need people to work here, bring them here. If there's jobs that are available, bring them here and employ them for a better life. That's the whole reason they want to come here in the first place. But it's the villagers in the welfare state we can't take.
I have a friend and his family, he's from India. His family emigrated here in the 90s. And he's like, "Yeah, the people who I know from my culture who all immigrated here in the 90s hate all of these new people because they have a caste system in India." I don't know how many people know about all that, but there's like clearly defined middle and upper and lower classes. And we used to bring in that's why there was so many jokes about the Indian doctor or the dentist or whichever it might be, because all the people that we brought here in the 90s came here were from the higher caste. And now we're just importing the gutter trash off the streets to work at Tim Hortons.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Jankor, I've been so bad. I get so bad on Wednesday streams with this. Guys.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
I get so bad on the cowbell, guys. I'm sorry.
It's a little more serious than Friday.
Friday nights are always better to get into, but it's what was really funny about the conversation with this East Indian salesman is he talked about how he's working these jobs with minimum wage. He's working tirelessly to try and make ends meet, and that he doesn't want handouts. And I've said a million times over, I got no problem with those folks. In fact, we had a very good conversation. And I was shocked that he stood on the side of conservatism and also for Alberta independence. Because he says, what your government's doing blows my mind. He says, especially when it comes to the checks and the money and the programs that they give to people when they come over here. So I applaud him for saying, I don't want to take a handout. And I do applaud him for saying, I'm trying my best to get, established and figure things out and work my way up. But those are the kind of immigrants we need to bring in, not the ones that are crapping in Tim Hortons cups in the middle of the street, not the ones who are breaking into our homes and assaulting women. The vagrants need to go. There's about 5 to 10 million people in this country that should not be here. And that is reflective in the budget.
They can't find them.
No, they can't. They don't even know where they are. How about that? What they should have done in that budget is make a division of ICE.
I'm calling Donald Trump. He's going to send us some of his ICE agents.
You got to get some of those ICE agents in Canada there. They got to get those guys out of here. Get them out of here. But they got to get roughly 10 million people out of here. And what it's reflective in is the cost of living, the cost of homes that are being driven up, the cost of food, the availability of jobs. None of it is warranting 5 to 10 million people flooding the country. Marianne, $2 super chat. We have that here now. There's Carney and us. I must have missed something in that, but thank you for the super chat. Yeah, ice baby. That's what we need. That's what we need. Ladies and gentlemen, we've really carried this stream far and beyond. It's gotten abysmal, but it's gone over time. We usually keep it to 90 minutes. I still got to make content for you guys tomorrow, so we're going to have to wrap up the stream. Where are the likes at? Can somebody tell me where the likes are at on the stream right now?
So, yeah, in closing for me, I just want to say, everybody, if you've got the time, look up the budget online, read through it, see what you can find in there, because I'm going to. And, I mean, it's just going to make me mad. And I encourage that for everything. Any bill that they're trying to pass, any budget that they're trying to pass. Educated voters is the strongest weapon we can have. And nobody reads any of it. Not even the people who are voting on it read it for the most part. Yeah. So just
take a look. I'll try and break it down too over the next few days, folks. We tried to touch on what I thought was important tonight. And again, we'll try and talk about it more maybe on Friday Night Fringe with Mrs. Fringe. I do have to acknowledge Mr. Big's $5 super chat. We aren't getting the villagers from other countries. We're getting the Justine Trudeaus, a.k.a. the village idiots. I couldn't agree more. Lady Wolf, $5 super chat. I didn't get jack shit when I immigrated here years ago. I went straight to work.
You're probably from the wrong country.
Kudos.
Only certain countries get that perk.
Hope things worked out for you. We're 587. Likes? Okay, I wanted to be at least 750 to do a giveaway. Maybe we'll see if Friday yields a better result for giveaways, folks. Kevin, I see these comments all the time. I want to highlight this. Thank you for doing what you do. This is the first time I've watched a live. Thank you, Kevin. Keep doing the good work. I wouldn't do the good work without this community, without this audience. You guys come into the shows and you guys support the channel. You keep it alive. No matter how long it goes for, whether Carney shuts it down or whether we get a pass to keep putting out the content. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. So thank you for listening to me rant. Thank you for giving me a platform to speak on. I'm always humbled and grateful for that. Thank you for listening to Matt tonight. Matt, it's always great to have you here.
Yes,
every Wednesday.
Get your popcorn ready. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I will be live in the Unacceptable Fringe studio for Wednesdays, Unhinged Fringe, and Fridays. Friday Night Fringe.
Get your lollipops, folks. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to have a wonderful time. Maybe Mrs. Fringe will join us on stream. It'll be wonderful. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your night. I'm sorry we had to touch on so much negative tonight, but try to look on the positive. Try to think that hopefully something good comes our way.
I'll try to find some puppies for next week or something.
Puppies and unicorn dust. We'll try and find something to make people smile. Don't forget to come in Friday. We'll have memes, at least, right? Memes on Friday. So you'll want to see memes. I'll try and find some classics to get people smiling. I'll be doing a lot of Trump on Friday to make people laugh, folks. From myself and Matt, I hope you guys have a great evening. Look after each other. We'll catch you on the next one, ladies and gentlemen. Take care.